Welcome to the So You're a Single Parent Now What podcast. My name is Crystal. I'm your host. My friends and family also know me as the six-figure single mom. So by now, your family, your friend, six-figure single mom. So the Six-Figure Single Mom Company, I am a career coach. So what I do is I help other amazing single parents whenever they want to advance in their careers and they want to take their finances to the next level. So I do this by teaching them how to leverage their skill sets. I also do this by teaching them how to negotiate their salaries. I teach them how to search for a new job or switch to a new industry. Basically, in a nutshell, I teach them how to boss up in their lives so that they can take their lives to the next level. So I enjoy what I do. It changes the trajectory of a whole household. And I love that because as single parents, it's just one income, right? So we have to do the things that we need to do to advance. So I love what I do. I also enjoy this podcast because it provides a safe space for other single parents to come to listen and feel heard, not judged, and to learn all things lifestyle, career, and single parenting. So tonight, I want to get into something that is very important to me, and I have a special guest with me tonight to help me talk through this. So I know it's the fourth quarter, right? So I work in the financial industry. And what we do is we are always looking at the fourth quarter. That's how we determine what bonuses we're going to get at work. That's how we determine how the end of the year is going to go. And it just kind of tops the year off, right? So we're going to do a series on finances. And to help me talk through this, tonight I have a special guest, and her name is Tynesha Beaver. Hey, Tynesha, they know you by now.
Y'all know me. Hey, y'all. Thanks for having me back. I feel like I'm a regular at this point. But.
At this point, you are a regular.
And I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Let's be clear. You are a regular at this point.
There we go. Yes. Happy to be here.
Yes. Thank you for joining me. So tonight, I want to introduce the first episode of the financial series on finances. Okay. So I wanted to just talk through aligning your finances with the desired life that you want. So as parents, not only parents, but as single parents.
Yeah.
Although you're not a single parent now, I'm sure that you remember the times when you were, and you had to pretty much play with your numbers so to make sure you're not overrunning your budget.
Maybe I manipulated those numbers. Okay.
Yes.
When I was a single parent, I was, like you said, on a single parent income.
Yeah.
Fresh out of college. But I knew a couple things that I've talked about here, and I talked about the brunch. That was amazing.
Yes.
That you speak things over your life. Mm-hmm. And so I said, I will not be in this financial situation always.
Yeah.
And I will be a six-figure single mom at the time, by the time I'm 30. So before you get into the nitty-gritty of planning numbers and budgeting and getting the job, you got to first believe that.
Yeah.
And you gotta speak that. You gotta claim that. You gotta write it down, make it plain, write your affirmations, write your goal list. What I like to do is I had my bathroom mirror. I would write affirmations in a dry erase marker.
Oh, that's cool.
And I put that up there because babe, my finances didn't indicate who I was at the time. And I just said, you know what? I'm not meant for this paycheck to paycheck life. It's just, it wasn't for me.
No.
And so I'd had enough education, just college and inroads. And the best piece of advice I got, I was in inroads and we were in this financial seminar, and they introduced us to the 60-20-20 rule.
Okay.
And so that kind of had been playing in my mind kind of the whole time. And so basically what that means is like your finances, everything financial that you have to pay for that goes out every month is no more than 60% of your income.
Sure.
Then you save and invest 20%, and then you have another 20% to live basically on. But girl, I didn't even have 5% to live and play on.
So let's back up a little bit. You talked about inroads. So at what age did you learn about finances, like money, just money in general?
Well, I was raised by a single mom.
Okay.
And so she was very clear on finances. Like,
yeah.
I would be like, oh, I want this or I want that. She'd be like, your friend got two parents in their household. We don't.
That part.
So, I had to learn a lot of delayed gratification, a lot of learning how to save up for things you want or picking what's most important that you want. I had to learn all of that at a very young age because I grew up in a single parent household. We never went without. We weren't poor by any means, but my mom was very, conscious of the budget. Most of me growing up, my mom had at least two jobs or a job and going to school or, whatever the case may be. So, I had a passenger seat view of making money work as a single parent for my mom.
And see, that's great. So I was raised by a two-parent household, and I always felt like my parents, they gave us stuff, but they didn't give us too much, right? So my cousins, they would have like Jordans around tax time. They'd have like all this cool stuff, and then we'd have like Pro Wings.
Yeah.
From Payless, and it's like,
girl, my mama loved Payless, and I used to be like, Mama, nobody shops at Payless.
We did.
Baby, my mama stayed at the Payless, and I was like...
And it just so like growing up, I was always like, why can't we? But I didn't realize, and looking back on it, it's like we traveled. Like we actually traveled. We drove a lot of places. There we didn't ride no planes, but we drove a lot of places. But we actually got a chance to travel different places. We went to Disney World when I was younger, and I didn't realize that kind of stuff was what they were more focused on, and not more so the materialistic clothing and shoes and stuff like that. And so now looking back at it, I'm like, I guess my parents were teaching me that
prioritize your finances.
Yeah, prioritize your finances and don't spend it on frivolous things.
Yeah,
at an early age.
And I'm teaching that to my daughter now.
Yeah,
and even not as a single parent, but kids see this lifestyle now that we didn't see on social media, right? We saw the lifestyle of our peers, right?
Yes.
Or friends' houses that we went to, or, but we would see people in big houses like on Fresh Prince, but we saw that on TV and knew that wasn't real. Yeah. Well, our kids are on social media. They are looking at reality TV. So they're seeing how other people live and they want that. And I'm like, sis, you want Starbucks, you want Chick-fil-A, you want the newest pair of Jordan 1s or the newest Dunks. And I'm like, sis, we can't have it all. And she doesn't understand, right? Why we can't, even if mom does have it. But again, it's that prioritizing your finances, right? Which means I can get you all the material stuff you want, but then when spring break comes, you're not going nowhere. Or when summer break comes and you just sitting in here and you're not in activities, or you're not going to camps, or you're not going on vacation because you choose these things. Because I tell her, I do make money, but I don't have an open checkbook.
Money doesn't grow on trees.
It does not.
I'm constantly talking to my daughter about this every single day. I'm like, money does not grow on trees. We can't just spend money. Like my daughter's in color guard, and it's like thousands of dollars. Like, and they want their money up front.
Now, give it all of it.
They want their money up front. Like, they tailgate before every game, and they eat good, So it's like, I don't mind, but then on the weekends when she's like, oh, can I go hang out with my friends? I'm like, am I not teaching you enough about money? Like, why do you feel like you said, why do you feel like I have an open wallet?
Why do you feel like you can have it all? But they are being raised in a generation where people are having it all, but they don't understand that people that have it all don't truly have it all. If they are rich, I try to tell my daughter that everybody has to earn their way. And if you feel like this person has it all, then either what do you see that they're working really hard to get the money to support that? Or I teach my daughter the most important thing is a lot of these people that you're looking at, they're in debt.
That part.
They're in debt.
That part.
And so they're living this lifestyle that you think is so fabulous, but when they come from in front of this camera, they are drowning in debt because they're trying to keep up with the latest this and the latest that. And I'm gonna keep it honest. At one point I was that person too. Yeah. But I had to very quickly learn, when I became a single parent, no, your needs go to the back burner. Yeah. You have to provide for this child. And I couldn't have the stress of being a parent and the stress of being in debt and the stress of working.
It gets stressful.
It's too stressful. And so I did watch my mom, early on, how you asked me how I learned about money, and that's watching my mom. But it wasn't until college when I got in organizations and was able to go to different things to see how wealthy people actually dealt with money.
So that's what I was going to ask you next. At what age and stage did you actually start to appreciate money?
In college. Okay. So I'll give an example. So I have an aunt and uncle who are financially well off. They lived in DC. They used to get me every summer for the summer, and I would go, and I'm like I say all the time, I'm a small town girl from Killeen, Texas, and
shout out to
Killeen, Texas. Don't sleep. But so my mom didn't have all of the financial resources to introduce me to different things in life, to understand that this isn't the biggest that you can go in life.
Sure.
So when I started going with them, they lived in this nice house in Virginia. We would go into DC. They drove Mercedes, and the first time I went to the Cheesecake Factory was with them. And
okay.
That was fancy to me.
Yes.
But he, at the time, they were teaching me about money. Mm-hmm. I remember when we were at the Cheesecake Factory, he was talking about stocks and bonds, and I was like, this sounds like Spanish. I don't even know what this man's talking about.
Complicated. It sounds so complicated.
But he was teaching me to have these things in life. These are the things that we've done, and these are the things that we're doing. And so that, coupled with real life examples of people, what they do with money and how they handle money, it made me want money. I was like, I want a Benz. I want a nice house. I want to live in the city. But he was like, but you don't go in debt to do it. And so that was kind of my first kind of real world example of somebody that was Black, right?
Close to you.
Close to me.
Yep.
That could show me what that looks like. And then he kept sowing into my life. But I remember when I went to Sam, my first job was at the financial aid office for work study.
Yeah.
And I came to school with a car, and I had a car note. Mm-hmm. And after work study, I had $7 left to my name.
Dang.
Yeah. But I had to pay my car note because I had bills. Yeah. So that was my first lesson in, you got to grind to pay your bills, because I wanted my car. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
So I learned that, and that's how I actually ended up getting onto that internship with Target, because I was like, this $7.50 an hour ain't really
not gonna work.
That ain't making it. Again, like you say, how do you earn the money for the lifestyle that you want?
Yeah.
You got to go out there and find the opportunities, find the jobs, find those things, find the programs. It don't just come to you.
I was talking to a girl the other day at the gym, and I was like, I'm just so over people like on Instagram and on social media, like, oh, I went from $0 to 7 figures. It's like, okay, but there's steps in between that. Like, obviously, we learn about money at a certain age. We start to appreciate money at a certain age. Yep. And then you have to work your way up.
For sure.
Like at 16, when I was making $5.30 an hour at AMC theaters, I learned, okay, if I work X amount of days, if I work X amount of holidays, I can get YZ.
And let's not talk about, I know we all had this experience. You get your first job. Before you get that job, you're like, all right, I make $7.50 an hour. Mm-hmm. I'm working 10 hours a week. Mm-hmm. This is how much money I'm going to make. And then you get your first check and be like,
where's my money at?
Who's FICA? And why is she in my check?
Where's my money?
I don't collect Social Security. Why are they taking money out my check?
Yes.
So you learn your first lesson because what we do when we first get a job, baby, I start running the numbers. How much am I make? How much am I make? And then you learn how much you gross ain't what you net. And that's another big lesson. I mean, we could dial this topic down to, the nitty gritty.
Absolutely.
Finances is such a big realm. And like you said about the 6 figures is, if I would have came out of college earning 6 figures, I wouldn't have done right with that money.
You wouldn't have had an appreciation for it.
I wouldn't have had an appreciation.
Yeah.
Or even gain the tools to be able to manage that kind of money. Because when you get into your corporate career and you're not making 6 figures, you start seeking out people that do. And then you watch how they live, and you watch how they dress, you watch how and if they mentor you, talk to you about, this is what I do with my money and this is what I don't do with my money. And unfortunately for me, I didn't have that mentor when I first started with Target when I was interning. Back then, their shares were like $20 a share. If I would have just invested and spent $200, Target shares are, I think I last checked, they were around $125, $150 a share. But I had nobody that knew, or that I knew that could educate me on that.
But and I always talk about that sometimes when people are like, oh, invest in your company stock. And it's like, we need to know stuff like that. What does that mean? What does that look like? You can't just say invest. Invest in what?
And how?
Because when you go to make your elections to invest, there's all these different types of stocks. There's mid cap, small cap, large cap. There's bonds. There's company stock. There's so many things that you can invest in.
Yeah. And then it's like, are you just investing in their 401k or are you investing in their private stock of the company?
Exactly.
Those are two different things.
Exactly.
You have an employee stock purchase plan. Like, are you investing in that or are you investing in a 401k?
Are you vested? How long does it take to get vested if you're not?
And how much money do you lose? Because we talked about careers, but if you leave a company, like we say, I leave a company, I'm typically not vested.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because I don't put all of my investments in the company.
Exactly. You diversify your portfolio.
Yeah. So you have stocks and bonds. You have, the S&P 500. You put your money in different places so that I don't be like, dang, I'm losing a bunch of money because I'm not vested.
Girl, I checked my stock the other day, like 2 days ago, and I was like, okay, I lost a few little dollars.
Baby, you just accept. I don't even check right now. I just have to let that be.
But you know what? It fluctuates, you know? So I was like, okay, Crystal, you know, them thousands of dollars, they're going to come back.
We're not close to retirement. That's the only thing I can say. We're not close to retirement. So you got time to bounce back.
Yeah. So you just got to know what you're investing in. But I feel like you said, around college, that's when I really start to appreciate what I knew about money. Like, oh, okay, because I did work study as well.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, when I graduated, my first job, $32,700. I was like, this is not enough. Not enough for me and a kid. This is not enough.
So when I graduated, I started at 55. And I was like, cool, like 55 is cool, but I remember I got an apartment in the Galleria area, and this will tell you how, but wait a minute. So this will tell you how much Houston has changed. Mm-hmm. That apartment was costing me almost $1,100 a month.
Not bad.
But it was too much because, again, I was calculating funds that I hadn't seen a check for, okay? Lesson number 1, get the first check first.
Yes.
Then make decisions.
Yes.
But, I mean, a little bit different for me. 1, I'm not from Houston, and 2, the job started right after I graduated, so I had to be in Houston. I didn't really have, like, my lease ended in Huntsville. They want you out in May, June, right? Mm-hmm. And then I had to start working in June. So I stayed there for a year and I was like, no, this is a little too much.
A little much.
Right? Because, Sally Mae came looking for her. You need to pay back my loans. And then that's when I downgraded and I moved to a 800 square foot apartment that was like 8 something, 9 something.
Okay, a little bit better.
And 6 months later, I got pregnant.
Mm.
So I was making moves to be financially savvy because I was like, and that's something quick for me. If I know it's out of my reach, I'm going to make moves so that I don't do that. So I went to a smaller apartment.
Yeah.
I had bought a 2006 Honda Civic in college. I was still driving that Civic.
I know that's right.
My baby came home in that Civic, okay?
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, I'm going to get a smaller apartment. Then I'm going to do this. And then I'll buy a new car. Well, I got pregnant. And so you know what happened? When you get pregnant, all them plans that you have for your life, gone.
You be like,
so I was like, all right, this Civic, this Civic's almost paid off.
Yeah.
So we're going to keep her. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, but I can't stay in this 800 square foot apartment with this baby. Like, this is not happening. So I had to go all the way out to Humble, which is the boonies, which most people in Houston will tell you that's the boonies.
Yes.
But the rent was cheap.
Yes. And it was a nice area.
It was nice.
Yep.
And so I was able to get a townhouse so I would have more room with my daughter. So I have always been one to be like, all right, I'm not going to live outside my means.
Yes.
But I like nice things.
But I like nice things.
And so I literally have the devil and the angel on my shoulder like,
yeah.
But
I like what you said too about I didn't continue down the path of just doing stuff that I knew wasn't working for me. Because in life you have to learn how to pivot. Don't commit. People don't commit to just continuing down the wrong path. You can pivot at any time.
If it's not working, and it's so funny that I have I'm funny like that. So I have the wherewithal to know that. But my best friend literally hounds me all the time about pivoting. She's like, you are really struggling with the pivot here. I absolutely am, because I'm headstrong on what I want. I want to do it. I'm committed. And it's like quicksand. Like my feet are in the quicksand, and baby, I'm going down. I can't get out now. I'm too far down. I'm too far.
You're committed.
I'm committed. But with money, and I think if you go a step deeper than that for me with money, when you're raised with a single parent, you're watching them make ends meet. You're watching them make decisions for their family, that when you are, like me, put in that situation where you have to be, there's two things that happen for me. One, I don't want to be broke. It's a fear. Like,
yes,
I do not want to be broke.
Yes.
So it made me grind harder. So like you were laughing, you was like, I saw you on the yard in red and khaki. Babe, I could not be broke.
Baby, you used to be in that red and khaki on the yard. I'm like,
Faithful.
She thinks she's something going to Target.
But it was because, and it's funny that you say that, because I was so embarrassed to do that.
Why?
I did not want to do that.
Girl, so many people was jealous because you was a manager at the Target.
I hated that. I was so embarrassed, and I felt like I could not live my college life because all I did was work. And it's funny to see somebody else's perspective of that. And that's what I'm trying to teach my daughter, because she'll say, well, that looks lame. I said, you never know what you're doing, how you are, what your impression is on someone else.
Yeah.
And so that was just my fear of being broke, because work, study, and having only $7 to my name, and I was being forced to eat at Belvin because I didn't have no money. I was like, I can't do that. So I did the internship, and I said, do y'all have any opportunities for me to work through the year? And so that's when he told me about the campus liaison position, which is why you saw me on the yard in red and khaki, because they had a program where you could be a liaison, where you're literally hooking up business majors and organizations with Target, so that they could have a constant flow of manager pipeline.
Sure.
So that's why I was doing that. I didn't do it because I thought it was cool, or I actually didn't want to. I'd rather have been in my fits.
And see, like I said, because I was raised in a 2-parent household, so mine was the opposite, where I wasn't working, didn't have to work, but I still always wanted a job.
I would have loved.
So I worked for the YMCA for a couple years, and then I got an internship at Wood Forest National Bank, and I worked there for a year or so, and that's when I ended up getting pregnant. But my dad was still filling up my car when I went home every weekend. They were still paying our rent, and my sister's a year apart from me, so they were paying 2 rents. We both had cars. Paid off. So it's just I feel like when I got pregnant, that's when my dad and my mom were like, okay, now it's on you. You had the luxury. And that's when I realized oh crap,
I had it better than
I got to pay for that.
Yeah.
I got to pay for that. It was shocking. It was like a shock factor, because they cut me off completely.
And I think about your experience like that, and I wonder what was harder, the immediate, you had it, then the cutoff, and have to grind it out and figure it out while you're having a baby, or just knowing my mom's look, I don't have it.
I literally don't have it.
I don't have it.
Yeah.
So, you can get financial aid and things like that you want, that you can with school, but the extras, I don't have it. So you're going to have to get a job. And if you want to keep this car, you're going to have to work, right?
Yeah.
And it was those things that I learned, but it was interesting because my college roommates, both, one, we were roommates for the first 2 years, and the other, we were roommates for the last 2 years. Both of them had dual parent households.
Sure.
So they didn't have to work. But one of my other roommates, she was like you, she didn't have to, but she wanted to. And I used to be like, girl, I wish I could just, do that. And her mom, oh God, I love her mom. Miss Linda, she taught me so many things about finances that I didn't even know. She owned her own business. And so I watched her a lot too. Just being a boss. And I remember one time she told me, I was sitting in her living room and struggling. I was like, man, Miss Linda, I wish I could do blah, 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 but I'm just so broke. And she said, don't ever say you're broke again. And I said, what?
Have power.
She said, don't ever say you're broke again. She said, say you're in between blessings. And when she told me that, it changed my total trajectory or thought process about not having money.
That's great.
And once she told me that, I literally have never said it again. So shout out to Miss Linda.
Thank you, Miss Linda. We need more of you.
We need more Miss Lindas. Let me tell you, that woman took me in, washed my clothes, fed me in college, just the whole works. So anyway, that's how I learned about financial literacy. Is just taking nuggets from people along the way. Really.
That's great. So that was our first topic, which was why controlling your finances are important as a parent.
Yeah.
It's important because what we're doing, our children are watching, and then what, so forth and so on. And then in addition to that, when we're controlling our finances, then we are not overrunning our budgets. So then we have money to do the type of the things that we want to do. It may not be the wants,
right,
but definitely the needs.
Right.
So living within your means, what are some ways that you live within your means?
Now or when I first started, because that looks different.
Yeah, so let's go back to the beginning. So let's do it then versus now.
Okay, let's do it.
So then, how are you controlling your finances? And I'll start with one. I got a roommate. So when I got pregnant when I was a junior in college. So when I went back to school, I got a roommate, and we basically split the rent.
Yeah.
And that's how I made ends meet, making the 32.7.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I did.
So for me, how I made ends meet, especially when I got pregnant, or even just after having my daughter, is I couldn't do the roommate thing. Like I just couldn't. I downsized to a smaller apartment. I said that this car that I'm driving, once it's paid off, I'm going to continue to drive it.
Yeah.
Because I need flexibility in my budget to be able to pay for daycare. So thankfully, my daughter's great grandmother retired. She jokes and says that my daughter's the reason she retired.
Aww.
But so she retired, and she watched Micah till she was 18 months, almost 2. And then I had gotten a new job.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, she's going to have to go to daycare. And so then I needed to flex again, because daycare is a big expense. And I was getting a lot of leeway having her grandmother. And then my best friend had moved down here to help me as well.
Wow, you just have
a village. I could cry about all the people that have helped me along the way.
Wow.
Who I am and how I got here is solely not on my own back.
Wow.
First of all, it's God and my village. You know who you are. I love you. Thank you.
Because people don't, so let's put a pin right there. People don't realize how much, when you have a child, how much you need those people that are willing to put their life on hold, or to put their needs or wants on hold, to say, you need a babysitter today, don't worry about it, I got you.
Yes.
So that's huge, that you, like, every time I sit down with you, I'm just so blown away at the village that you have that stepped up to help you.
And it's crazy because I was so scared having my daughter. My mom, like I said, my mom lived 3 hours away, but she was here, the weekends that she could come and all of that. But I have a very best friend. You know her now. My daughter was 6 months old. The situation, I was struggling, basically.
Yeah.
It was awful. I was working 50 hours a week, holidays, nights.
Yeah.
And she was like, I'm going to move to Houston and live with you and help you with her. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I'm coming. And she came.
That's sweet.
Just the village. It truly was a village. And so I was able to still focus on my career to meet those financial goals, because had I not had the village, it would not have afforded me the opportunity to be so focused on my career. Because it's a certain level of comfort you have when you can focus all day at work, because you know who has your child.
Yes.
They're in the right hands.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that is not something that I take for granted, but it definitely is something that helped me, because money was tight when I first had her, because I did have to move to a larger place. And to me, living somewhere comfortably and safe was important. So I was willing to draw back on other things. And I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I had to float myself on a credit card.
Yes.
But there were things that I did on those things, like making sure you take advantage of 0% APR, paying it off before the APR starts, right? Or putting your student loans in forbearance if you just had a child and you can't pay it back.
Yeah.
There's certain things you can do financially. I don't know if we're going to get to that, but those are also ideas that you use when you're trying to create a budget as a single parent to provide a safe and comfortable environment for you and your child. And just meet basic needs.
Yeah, and that's important too, is because when you have a child and you are trying to find somewhere to stay, you do have to basically make sure that that is the number one priority. That's always been the number one priority. Is I said, I don't care what I do, I don't care how much money I make, my daughter will be in a great area where she doesn't have to worry about looking over her shoulder if someone's gonna snatch her up or whatever. And it can happen anywhere. But I want her in a good area, in a good school district, and I want her performing well at all times.
And that's why when I made that affirmation that I would be a homeowner by 25, that was my number one goal as to why I wanted to do that. Because I wanted her in somewhere that she knew was home every day. We weren't moving. We weren't switching around. She was comfortable. We were in a comfortable neighborhood. And two, talking about finances, I knew that I had bought my house my first house in 2013. So the housing market hadn't quite rebounded yet.
Gotcha.
So just for a point of context, I bought that house for under $150,000, brand new construction.
Wow.
That doesn't exist anymore. But what I knew was, and shout out again to my mom, who she was like, you're going to do this, because I got scared and I was like, I'm not ready. I need to get my credit up a little bit higher. I don't have enough down payment. And she was like, just go talk to the man. Yeah. And everything just aligned. Wow. And so I bought that house, and that house was a really, really good first time home for me. And it was a really good financial investment.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
It really was. And so all along, you have to make financial decisions with what you need now and your end game. Yeah. And your end game.
How important is ownership to you?
Very important.
Okay.
Very important.
In what way?
For a couple reasons. You're building generational wealth, right? Your home is going to continue to be an asset for you. Yes. I like decorating homes. So selfishly, I like owning a home because I want to transform the home to look and feel how I want it to feel.
And you're so great at that.
Thank you.
You are. I saw your post today about the trees, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's that time already.
It is.
It looks so great.
Thank you. So that is important to me for those reasons. And two, you always want to own if possible, because essentially what you're doing is creating a bank account that you can go into at any time, any point in time. So if you build, like, for example, everybody in Houston got a huge jump in how much they had in equity in their homes since 2020, because the housing market skyrocketed, right? Yeah. So you were instantly earning equity in your home if you owned a home. So if you ever need money, right, it's okay to save in stocks and bonds, but real estate and owning real estate will get you there as well, right? So because I bought that house in 2013, I was able to flip it for a really good product, a really good, what's the word I want to say? Profit, yes, sorry. A really good profit. And I was able to buy my dream home at 30.
Nice.
But that's the key to ownership and having the forethought to think ahead. And now I didn't know that house was going to afford me the ability to buy my dream home at 30. But what happened was funny is my husband and I were recently engaged, and we were living in that house. And a lot of people say, no, I don't want to buy a house till I'm married. First of all, no. First of all, no. We're bosses. We're buying houses. We're not waiting on a man, right? Do you? But secondly, if you do in fact get married and you have something that you can bring to the table to start your relationship off on a good financial front. And also what helped us is my husband has a son. And so we had our parents visit during the summer. The house that I bought was fit for me and my daughter. It was a 3-bedroom home. So we as soon as we got engaged and got married, that house instantly was too small. So it was a good financial move, but also we needed to move into a bigger home.
More space.
But thankfully, because I bought that home, I was able to buy a bigger home that happened to be my dream home, because that was such a good financial move for us at the time.
And one thing that I always stress to people about is stop listening to everybody. Buying a home is completely different than having an apartment. People always say, oh, you stay in an apartment, you can buy a home. Owning a home is great when you're ready.
That part. So let's talk about that.
Because there's so much maintenance that goes in. Let me tell you something. My AC went out like a month and a half ago.
Mine went out last year.
I do have a warranty.
Yes.
But my warranty sent out a contractor and they wanted to charge me an out-of-pocket or of something ridiculous.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Like $5,000.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it because, I just realized they were trying to get over on me. So at any rate, there's things like that go on. I mean, I pay $700 every year for flood insurance for a flood that's never hit my home. But I want to be responsible and pay it, right?
Yeah.
When I moved into the home, I didn't like the kitchen. So I remodeled the kitchen. That was $10,000 out of pocket. It's like, there are things. I have maintenance every month for yard work. I have maintenance every month. I have a cleaning lady that comes in, does a deep cleaning every month. It's like, it's not the same as an apartment.
Not. But so I'll say this. If we're talking to single parents, I will say this is that a home does more for you financially when you have a child. My mom, I remember my mom bought our house my childhood home when I was in the 7th grade. And she brought me to that house and was like, welcome home. And I remember crying and being so excited because we moved a lot because my mom didn't rent. Yeah. And I remember my mom being so proud that she was able to buy a home.
Same.
And her girlfriend that was a single mom too. My best friend's mom bought a home and they were so proud that they could buy a home.
Yeah.
And it gives that child a sense of stability.
Yes.
And security.
Yes.
Because you're not thinking, okay, the lease is up. Like, my mom's like, okay, we're getting ready to move and you made friends and you got to leave those friends and all of those things. So, right. And I also think too, for me, knowing where you are financially and what you want in a home. So for example, I knew I needed a new build because the maintenance part and something breaking down or not liking and having to do a remodel, I didn't have the money for that.
Yeah.
So a new build afforded me a warranty. I was able to go to the design center, but I started on like a lower budget builder. I got a KB home. I didn't go and try to get a new mark home or a custom builder.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford that. So again, how did you manage your money? I got the home that I can afford. And people can talk all the trash they want about KB. Baby, that KB home did me well.
But that's the point that I'm making is, be strategic about where you buy. Because like you said, you don't want to get in the home and lose your home because you'll be in the same boat as when you were in the apartment. So when you get a home, just be strategic about it. Don't let anybody try to convince you that it's the same as an apartment. It's not. You need a nest. You need a savings.
Yep.
You need something to fall back on. And like you said, if you have to start with a KB home or you have to even start with an older home,
for sure,
then do that. Because like you, I bought my house. I guess my daughter was going to the 7th grade. And she did the same thing. I bought this house. She didn't know anything about it. And after church, I was driving one day and I just said, I like that house right there. And I pulled into the driveway. And girl, when I put the key in that door, she was like, and I was like, this is our home. I was like, this is our, and she did not believe me. She was like, no. She opened the door. She still was in disbelief.
Yeah. And that's a core memory for her and you.
Yes.
And what you gave her in that moment, I remember because I had to tap back into that feeling when I became a single mother and understanding why I needed to build a home. So I remember like when they were building the home, like I have pictures of my daughter standing in front of the house when it was just 2x4s and standing in front of the sold sign. And I show her those things, right? Because you want to show your kids that I may be a single parent, but you can achieve your dreams and your goals, right?
You can.
And so, talking about like the financial part of it, I did have to establish a budget to be ready to buy a home. So, I mean, to the point where I moved out of that townhome. I moved in with my uncle for 9 months so that I didn't have any rent to pay. I mean, I paid him a little bit. Again, there goes that village that I talk about.
Your village so crunk and lit.
There goes that village. And I was able to save for the down payment.
Sure.
Because I knew I couldn't continue to pay rent in the townhome and save to buy a house.
Yeah.
And so I remember crying in that townhome. I was like, I don't want to move back in with my uncle. Like, I'm grown. I got a baby, whatever. But he was a bachelor at the time and he had 2 extra bedrooms. And so me and my daughter moved in with him. And I remember, saving up to buy a home and, people didn't understand. But then when I said, I'm a homeowner, people were like, now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it. So you got to sacrifice. You sacrifice for what you want. And that's what you talking about showing our daughters is there's a lot of sacrifice in that. Right? Like I didn't want to, it took a lot of humbling myself to say at the time I was 24, and I was like, I had a boyfriend and we was having fun, and I was like, yeah, no, you can't visit me anymore because I'm moving in with my uncle,
and this is more important to me than hanging out with you.
Exactly. But he was understanding, right? Because he stuck around, but you have to sacrifice. My budget said, okay, if you're paying $1,100 in rent.
Yeah.
If you just save that $1,100, keep living how you living, right? Which I was able to buy my daughter nice clothes and buy myself clothes, but I had paid off my car.
Yeah.
And so basically I kind of used like a impromptu Dave Ramsey. So I snowballed. So I paid my car off. So I took the rent and the car note money and together saved that every month to be able to save for the down payment.
And see, that's what I'm talking about. Make sure you have a nest egg because it's so important when you start to get in that home. There's going to be certain things that come about that may not be related to your home. It may be related to your car, maybe related to your child. And also, too, I know when I bought my home, they had a down payment assistance program where there was no down payment.
Oh, that was a blessing.
There was no down payment. And then when I bought my house, the seller was paid all my closing costs.
Wow.
And you know what? What I would always tell any single parent or any parent for that matter that's looking for a home, I asked my realtor, my realtor Ishmael, you might know him from Sam.
Yeah.
Ishmael. And I said, do people still write letters to sellers? And he was like, give it a shot. I said, I want to.
Yeah.
When I wrote that letter, I wrote the letter and I said, my name is Crystal. I love your home. It would be a great starting place for myself and my daughter. When I get into this home, I plan to provide stability for my daughter. So that she can have childhood friends and childhood memories. And if you would be so gracious to work with me on the offer, then I would love to buy your home. And from that, I'm telling you, I was traveling for work. I was coming back from Louisiana for work. Ishmael called me and said, I have something to tell you. And I was not expecting it this day because we had sent the offer back to him. And he was like, you need to pull over. And I was like, oh, crap.
It's bad.
I was like, it's bad. I was like, you don't want me to start crying. And he was like, they not only did they accept the offer, but the seller, because of your letter, is going to pay all the closing costs for your home. So I would just encourage single parents or any parent, if you are going out to get a home and you want to move in a specific home, or you want to look into your banking down home assistance programs, and also write a letter to the seller, because you just never know. If you're buying a home that's already established, you just never know what could come of that.
Yeah.
Just explore all of your options. Don't leave anything on the table.
And two, with that, know and understand that you are worthy of home ownership.
Yes.
That you do not have to have a partner to own a home. You can get qualified for a loan on your own. I remember,
that's a great point.
I remember when I got qualified for my loan, he was like, you just have to have a 620 credit score and you can qualify for an FHA mortgage. So you only have to have 3% down, not the traditional 20% down. Because those were the two things that scared me.
Yeah.
And if your credit score is lower, you will have to have a higher interest rate typically, but you can work on that and you can refinance. There's several different options that you can do for that. I wouldn't let that scare you from owning a home, but I would tell you that there's a lot of preparation and planning that has to happen for you to own a home. But to me, I feel like ownership it pays you back tenfold.
I have a friend, and when I bought my home, she's single, no kids or anything like that. And she said, you have encouraged me. I've always said, I want to wait till I get a husband. I want to wait till I get a boyfriend or whatever. And she said, you've encouraged me to not wait on anything. So I'm going to move forward with trying to buy. So she's going to do a townhome. She moved back in with her parents.
Yeah.
And she's right now in the saving phase of saving for her townhome. And she's like, I don't have any kids. I don't have any, I'm not married. So I'll start with a townhome, and that's plenty for me.
Yeah. And I think too, you have to know, you never know who's watching you.
Yes.
And most importantly, your child, if you're, a single parent. But I also think that your friends or your colleagues or, things like that. And even just yourself, I can't tell you how proud I was of my own self. And I'll tell you, building a home and going through the mortgage process at the same time.
Yeah.
There were so many times it brought me to tears. It was so stressful.
Wow.
It was so stressful. But I just kept praying and I just kept saying, okay, I know the end goal. And when I closed on that house, I just remember feeling so proud, my mom being so proud, my daughter being so excited that it was all worth it. And I think that I had to live within my means or below my means. Yeah. Now, that never stopped a package from coming to the door. Yeah.
We love our packages.
I'm a shop. That's one thing I'm going to do. But I think I learned a really big lesson too. And somebody who is even more financially savvy than me is my husband. And he will squeeze a penny out of a dollar. That man is so
You
cheap.
need somebody like that in your life, though.
When I met him, he was under 30 or maybe right at 30 and had an 800 credit score. And I said, baby, I ain't never met no black person that got an 800 credit score. What are you doing? But he put me on game. He lived below his means. And that, I think, maybe is why God put us together, because I couldn't have been with nobody that wanted as much as I want.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. That's another reason why I didn't become a six-figure person, because I'm an overspender, right? But he taught me a lot of different things. Yeah. Like, he was like, I pay my student loans off. And I'm like, baby, I would die with these student loans. I'm glad Joe going to give me $20,000 off, because baby, they was going to get this little $150 for the rest of my life. And I wasn't. He said, you not worried about that? No, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that. But that is not the right attitude.
I know, because we are talking about financially living within our means.
I have changed my approach now that I'm older. But the reason that I felt that way at the time is because I had a daughter. And I'm like, look, I only got so many dollars.
And she comes first.
Period. I had a lot of things that I had to do. So I was like, these student loans is not a priority.
You don't have to wait.
You have to wait. Like, I got other priorities. I want a house. I want to be able to pay for daycare. And then I put my daughter in a private preschool so that she could be ready for school. And all of those things was important to me. I saved up so that I could take her on her first trip when she was 3. Like, those were things that were important to me.
Yeah.
And so that is why I had to live by a budget and living within my means and really focusing on finances, because having your finances right is so key.
Yeah. And when my daughter was younger, I had neighborhood centers for daycare. So single parents, if you are out there and you're looking, they have neighborhood centers. I don't know if it's still around, but neighborhood centers assist you with daycare.
Wow.
So since I was young and in college and I wasn't making a lot of money, they offset her daycare bill.
Wow.
So it was just so great. I always tell parents nowadays, I don't see how y'all have kids nowadays, because it's expensive.
It's
expensive.
And it's so funny that you say that, because I came out of college thinking that I was making good money, right? But when you have a kid, that $50,000 threshold is like just enough where we won't give you no assistance.
Yes.
So it's like, I gotta pay $1,200 a month out of my own pocket, like for her to go to daycare. So that's when my village stepped up and really helped. But yeah, I mean, having a kid and managing finances is really, really crucial.
Yeah.
Really crucial.
It's very crucial, but guess what, guys? You can do it. Now, this is not the first time we're going to be talking about finances. We're going to be doing a series on finances, because ending the year in a financial gain is extremely important, because you don't want to take no bad vibes into the new year. No. We don't take bad vibes into the new year.
Or broke vibes.
Or broke vibes, right? So we need to learn how to manage our finances, and we can do that by learning from each other, getting tidbits and gems about what each other did so that we can learn how to save, so that we can learn how to budget, and that so that we can be put on game about ownership.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we need to have ownership. You know, we need to be mature in our finances. Like you said, when you know better, you do better.
For sure.
So we should always be striving to do better. Thank you, Tynesha, for joining me.
Thank you for having. You know, I love coming to chat with you, girl.
Of course.
And running my mouth. Y'all know I'm gonna run my mouth.
But talking to you feels like I'm just talking to one of my homegirls. I could talk to you forever. We are, but I'm saying I could talk to you for the next 8 hours. You know, so Tynesha is just so great, and you're also financially stable, and I love that because although you're married now, like I said, I know you remember the times when you weren't, and even in marriage, you still have to budget. The budgeting doesn't go away. The saving doesn't go away. No. Now
it's intensified.
It's intensified
because you have additional people. We've had an additional child. My husband is an extreme saver, so my budget actually got tighter. We make more, but the budget is tighter because he's not really wanting no extra dollars moving out the house. I mean, I saw that man fire a lawman for $5. $5. He went to a cheaper lawman for $5. And I said, you got to be kidding me. He said, baby, that's $5.
$5.
And then he want to break down. If you do $5 and you do he cutting your grass 2 times a month, that's $10 times a year. That's $120 I just saved. And I was like, I can't knock it. I remember, and I'll tell you this last story really quick. When we got married, my cousin was the pastor that married us. And we got married the weekend after Hurricane Harvey.
Okay.
So we had to get married at home because the venue and everything, we had to reschedule the big wedding.
Yeah.
And a part of my vows was talking about he's the cheapest man I know. And my cousin, who was a pastor at the time, said, well, if being cheap gets you this house, then I need to be cheap too. And everybody started cracking up laughing. And it's the truth. So I take a lot of credit for being financially savvy, but it's really important, single parents, when you hook up with somebody, that person understands your financial goals, your mission, and they are on that same mission too.
Yes.
Because you don't want somebody that comes into the relationship and they draining the account. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have somebody that's on the same wavelength and y'all are on the same, y'all are having the same common financial goals. And my husband will probably say, I don't. He says you spend too much time. But when he says it's time to buckle down and we need to save, cool, I can rein it in.
We thank God for Mr. Beaver, because Ty sounds like she would be wrecked shopping on the budget. Okay,
baby.
Yes. So it's very important, no matter what your relationship status is, that you learn how to control your finances. Listen, this is just one of many of the financial series as we end the year. Like I said, we're in fourth quarter. We got to be focused. We got to be driven. We got to keep our head down. We got to keep working. We have to finish the year strong. So I hope that you guys got some tidbits and gems out of this episode. We're going to come back to you because we still want to give you some more tips on things that you can do to end the year strong.
Yeah.
We talked about budgeting. We talked about saving, but we'll do a deep dive into exactly how you can budget, exactly how you can save, and maybe give a little challenge.
Yeah.
So that we can get competitive on saving and things like that.
So we do a group that I was in at my old job. We had like a no spend month.
Oh.
And so I typically have to do that. I have to plan it because so what typically happens is I typically go overboard for Christmas. I love buying gifts. I love, that whole thing. And so typically my budget manager, my finance manager at home will say, girl. So I typically do no spend January.
Okay.
So now that's after the Dillard sale. Okay, I got to go to the dealer's New Year's sale.
We're going to plug the dealer's sale.
We're going to plug it.
So every January 1st, Dillard's has a sale. Now, this sale is something I've never seen before.
I heard they weren't doing it anymore.
Why?
I don't think they did it last year.
People would be standing up lined at the door.
Yeah.
At 6:00 in the morning.
Me and my friend, girl, we would get our Starbucks. We would have our crossbody. We would have us a little, like a little bag. Girl, we would rack up. So, but anyway, after that sale, then the rest of January I don't spend. So I typically do January, and then I'll do like, because our family has a lot of birthdays and stuff like August, September. So typically I'll try to do like a June or May, June, July-ish, and I'll try to do like another like no spend month so that I can rein in the budget.
We're going to do it.
Let's do it.
We're going to do it. So since we're planners, we're going to plan to do a no spend January.
Let's do it.
Where we don't spend anything additional, any additional funds. So we'll plan, we'll let you guys know the rules, and then we'll challenge you to see if you can stick with that also. Yeah. Right. So Tynesha, tell everyone where they can find you on social media and all that stuff. Plug your stuff, girl.
So let me plug myself. So it is fourth quarter. So fourth quarter for me means all things Christmas. Yes. I am a professional Christmas tree decorator outside of my 9 to 5.
Yes.
And so you can find me at Styled Holiday Decor on Instagram. I think I'm going to give in and get on TikTok. Everybody tells me I need to be on TikTok.
You definitely need to be on TikTok.
I'm going to do TikTok, but you can find me right now on IG under Styled Holiday Decor, and you can reach out to me if you want your tree decorated. We still got some dates available, so that is how you can find me on social media.
Awesome. And Tynesha, your information will be linked below, so make sure you send me a little text and tell me. I did see your stuff on social media the other day, but I want to make sure that I get it perfect.
I will send it to you.
So I'm going to link her information below in the description box. So please make sure that you follow her page. She does absolutely amazing work. So please follow her page. And if you are not following me on it, first of all, if you are not subscribed to the channel, then what are you waiting for? We have so much content. I have so many great things to talk about. And these conversations could go, as you see, we're 54 minutes in. These conversations could go on and on and on and on from all the lessons and gems that we've learned over the years. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would love for you to subscribe. Just click that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a dime to subscribe. So I hope that you would subscribe. Also, if you are not following me on Instagram, then please follow me. I am at the Six Figure Single Mom. Again, on Instagram, at the Six Figure Single Mom. And also, too, if you are desiring to advance in your career and take control of your finances, I am a career coach and strategist. I will help you do that. I will help you get to the six-figure range, or if you're already making six figures, then I will help you get to the next level of six figures, because don't sleep. Six figures is $100,000 to $999,000. Okay. So wherever you fall in that range, I will help you get to the next level of the six-figure range. So please contact me at my website, www.sixfiguresinglemom.com. Go to the contact me page, and I will personally reach out to you. I am career coaching clients every single week and teaching them how to boss up in their careers. So that's all for tonight. And I always like to end my episodes by thanking my guests. So thank you, Tynesha.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
She will be back very soon. Don't you worry about that, because I love conversating with Tynesha. Like I said, I could go on and on and on and on with her. But always remember that change starts with you, right? So be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't complain about what someone is not doing. If you see a need, if you see a gap, fill it, right? Change starts with you. So be the change that you want to see in the world. I am Crystal Smith, your host, joined with Tynesha Beaver. And until next time, guys, bye.